Welcome back to the Toledo Rockets Podcast. I am your host, Brian Nowicki. Today we have a great episode. This is episode number 30 of the podcast. Hard to believe this is already the 30th episode, just a few 2-3 months in since I started doing these podcast shows. So today, a lot to talk about for the men's and women's basketball teams. Last night, Toledo men's basketball team dominated Buffalo 101-71, 30-point victory, 13 straight wins now after starting the conference at 1-2. They are now 14-2 in the MAC, 23-6 overall. Dante Maddox led the way for Toledo with 18 points. JT Shoemate had 16 points. Ray J. Dennis added 16 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds, nearly a triple-double from Dennis in this game. Cedric Milner added 15 points. Raheem Moss had 14 points, and E.J. Farmer with 14 points coming off the bench. That's right, 6 players with 14 points or more in this game for Toledo. 101 points, over 100 points for the 4th time this year. 6 times if you count the 2 exhibition games at the beginning of the season. They're on a roll. 13 game winning streak is one of the best in the country. I think it's tied for second. They're averaging well over 80 points per game, one of the best scoring offenses in the country. And, in this game, it was so fun to watch the offense, the way that they were moving the ball around. They were in motion, moving themselves, all around when they didn't have the ball. So many easy baskets. And, this is a really good shooting team. They hit 3-pointers. They hit outside shots, foul shots. They're a good foul shooting team. And they're just so fun to watch. And Ray J. Dennis is just amazing. He's been the MAC Player of the Week 4 times this year. And I think he's the only player that has been named it more than once. If he does not get MAC Player of the Year, something is wrong because he's just so good. He's 3rd in the MAC in scoring, but he's so good with his assists. Some of these passes that he makes, and when Toledo really needs a shot, he seems to find a way to score too. And like I said in this game, 8 rebounds, nearly a triple double. If he would have gotten just 2 more rebounds, he would have had a triple double. Just an amazing performance. And he actually played a little less in this game than he normally does because Toledo was winning by so much. Late in the second quarter, late in the first half, he was sitting on the bench there for a while until right before the end of the half when they brought him back in, like under a minute to go. And, in the second half, he had a nice breather at one point, and then he went out of the game, I think, with about 3 minutes to go. So, he definitely didn't play as much as he does in closer games. And he still had 16 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds. Just amazing effort. E.J. Farmer, one of his better games, 14 points, coming off the bench, like I said. And that's huge. Remember, Tyler Cochran has been hurt, and he's out for the rest of the season, redshirting because of his injury. And they need people off the bench to help out. And, Farmer had a great game. AJ Adu played very well as well. And, Farmer, he's done this a few times now. He looks very athletic out there, and he plays good, tough defense. I really like him, and I think he has a lot to this team, and they are going to need his play like this in the MAC tournament because that's going to be huge. You got to have some contribution off the bench, and he definitely showed it, in this game. So we look, there's 2 games left in the regular season. They play at Central Michigan and then at Ball State. Toledo currently has a 1-game lead on Kent State. Kent State is right there. They beat Toledo the one time they played. So Toledo needs to win these last 2 games or see a Kent State loss to win the regular season title. If Toledo does win the MAC regular season title, it'll be their 3rd straight MAC regular season title. This is a feat that hasn't been done by a MAC school in over 70 years. That's right, 70 years. The way that they are playing right now, this just seems like this could be the year that they finally get over the hump and win the MAC tournament. They definitely look like they have a great shot at the number 1 seed. They're going to be either the number 1 or the number 2 seed. Like I said, if they win out here, they will be the number 1 seed. Or if they win at least one of the last 2 games and Kent State loses one of their last 2 games, which could happen. Kent State does have to play Akron yet, so that definitely could happen. But either way, Toledo's just on fire. Like I said, Buffalo's really rebuilding this year, right? They lost a lot of talent and they're rebuilding, but they were just manhandled in this game. And I mean, Toledo was winning 56-36 at halftime. They had 56 points in the first half. And then in the second half, they just poured it on and, continued. And like I said, Ray J. Dennis played great, but he also got some time to rest up a little bit there and not have to play the entire game pretty much, which was huge too. So 2 games left and we go to the MAC tournament. It's going to be exciting in Cleveland. I really think this team has a really good shot at the MAC tournament. All right. So we are going to transfer over now to women's basketball. And it was a huge game yesterday for the women's team. They played at Ball State. And remember, going into Saturday, Toledo, Ball State, and Bowling Green were all tied for first place at 13-2 in the MAC. Well, Toledo played great, a little bit of a slow start in the first quarter, and then they started to, take over. They had a 42-35 lead at halftime. They outscored Ball State, I think it was by 8 or 9 points in the third quarter, had a nice lead. Ball State got back in it a bit, made it close down the stretch. Toledo had a 5-point lead with just a few seconds to go. Ball State hit a 3-pointer off the backboard and in. And then Toledo had a turnover with like 0.4 of a second left. So Ball State had a slight chance, but they could not score. And Toledo won the game 72-70. Huge win. They beat Ball State twice this year. In Toledo, they won 83-76, and then at Ball State, 72-70. Well, guess what? Bowling Green also lost. They lost to Buffalo. So Toledo is now in first place all by themselves, with Ball State and Bowling Green a game behind them. Toledo owns the tiebreaker for Ball State as they beat them both times they played in the regular season. Bowling Green, they have lost in their only game so far against them at Bowling Green, but they will play Bowling Green in Savage Arena on the last game of the regular season. So right now it's looking really good for the Toledo women's team, just like the Toledo men's team in terms of winning the MAC regular season titles. In this game, Kenesha Lockett led the way with 20 points. Sophia Wired had added 17 more points. And, I talked about a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, about Nan Garcia and how she's my unsung hero on this women's basketball team. She just played great again. Off the bench, she contributed 13 points, added 6 rebounds in 34 minutes of playing time. 34 minutes of playing time from somebody that's not a starter. That's incredible. And, 13 points, the 6 rebounds. She just played well again. She has good size. And she's a good complete player in my opinion. She's not, great, but she's good. And that's what you need out of somebody that you consider an unsung player, right? So again, she did great in this game. So, as we look here, the women's basketball team with 11 straight wins, you add with the men's basketball teams, 13 straight wins. That's now 24 straight wins between the men's and women's basketball teams. So the Rockets here, they're 23-4, 14-2 in the MAC. You got Ball State and Bowling Green are both 13-3, a game behind them. 2 games left in the regular season. Both games are at home in Savage Arena for the Toledo Rockets. Coach Cullop's team will first play against Kent State. They're a solid team. They're probably the number 4 seed. I'm pretty sure they've already locked that up as well, the number 4 seed in the MAC tournament. And then they will host their arch rivals, Bowling Green. And, Bowling Green, that's a big game. I'm going to guess that probably Toledo and Bowling Green are going to win their next game. We're going to, go with that. Let's just say that they do. Toledo will be 15-2, and Bowling Green then be 14-3. So the winner of that game pretty much will be the number 1 seed in the MAC tournament. If Bowling Green would win that game, they would both finish 15-3, but Bowling Green would hold the tiebreaker to get the number 1 seed. If Toledo wins, they will be 16-2. Again, this is assuming they win the next game. They'll be 16-2. Bowling Green would then be, why can I not do math today? But they would be 14-4, and Ball State could potentially be, I guess they could potentially be, they could potentially be 14-4 as well, because I just remembered Bowling Green and Ball State are actually playing each other next game. So they will play, and then Bowling Green will have to play Toledo after that. So either way, the way it looks right now, things look good for Toledo to win the MAC regular season title and get that number 1 seed, especially if they beat Bowling Green. That's the big one, right? They want to win that one. They lost a rather somewhat close game that they at least stayed in it and made it really close towards the end at Bowling Green earlier this year. This time it's going to be in Savage Arena, and a game that, the Rockets definitely have a great chance of winning, and they're going to want to win. They're going to want to get that revenge and get the number 1 seed in the MAC tournament. So just, it's been exciting watching these men's and women's basketball teams this year. The men's team, 13 straight wins now. Definitely one of the hottest teams in the country, if not the hottest team in the country. I'm going to go out there and say right now they are the hottest team in the country. I know they're tied for the second longest winning streak currently, so it's not the longest, but the way they are playing, the way that they dismantled Akron and Buffalo in these last couple of games, they are just on fire at the right time, right before the MAC tournament. So it's going to be exciting to see this next week of the regular season, and then the MAC tournament in Cleveland after that. Hopefully, both the men's and women's teams can get MAC tournament championships and go to the NCAA tournament. All right. So let me know in the comments what you thought about the games yesterday and what you think about the remaining regular season games, and then, of course, the MAC tournament. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can see more of this content. Again, this is the 30th episode of the Toledo Rockets Podcast, and can't wait until we get to episode number 50.